Senator Brian Baig.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, let me take this opportunity to thank the Honorable Prime Minister, Kamala Prasad Bisesa Senior Counsel, for seeing and having faith in me and appointing me here as a member of this bench. A great bench, I must say. And I also, sir, want to take this time to congratulate you, sir, on your elevation as Senate President. I have known you a very long time, sir, and you're a man that teaches well. And I'm happy that you are the best person for that chair. Congratulations again, sir. Let me take this opportunity as well, Mr. President, to thank the Minister of Finance, and as well as my colleague, Senator Swarting, Minister in the Ministry of Finance, for bringing a very good and excellent presentation to this House. Mr. President, on the 28th of April, this country felt a great movement. And that movement was the removal of the People's National Movement. And seeing the election of the United National Congress and Kamala Prasad Bisesa as Prime Minister of this country for a second time. Mr. President, on the 29th, this country felt a breather. People felt easy. People felt a bit light. Because you know why? There was no more People's National Movement in government, sir. No more. People saw that there's now going to be good governance in Trinidad and Tobago. That is what they voted for. And I can tell you that, sir, because so far, what we have brought into this House, we have had promises made and promises delivered. Children's Life Fund, TTRA is no more, and more is to come, and more will come with this government. Because, Mr. President, when the UNC wins, everybody wins. Mr. President, I must say, oh, my pen went flying. Mr. President, I will say to you, you know, I am a cricketer. So I am like Michael Holding. My run-up will take a little long. But you will see, you might hear some bouncers coming and some Yorkers will be delivered tonight. Mr. President, we have an Attorney General in this country who said, and I want to agree with him, he's going to war. And I will go to war with him. We will go to war with him when we say we are going to fight crime, and we're going to fight especially white-collar crime in this country, sir. We will make sure of that, Mr. President. Mr. President, we want to remind this country that in 2010 to 2015, we built hospitals, we built schools, we built roads. But after that, in 10 years, what was there? There was no roads. There was no hospitals. We built a children's hospital and they refused to open it. It took a pandemic for them to build it, to open it, sorry. We must never let them forget that. We built police stations. What did they build? Nothing. Nothing they built. They didn't even build hope. I listened to my good friend. I took some notes, but not much. She said, blame COVID for how the economy went. She said, blame geopolitical tension. But I want to remind my good friend that the economy of this country was already crashing before COVID. The economy of this country was crashing before Ukraine war. She talked about health care. Granted, she got good health care. She said she got good health care. Senator, my apologies. Honorable, my good friend. I could talk about health care too. For 2016, I stayed 9 days in Port of Spain General, you know. And I could tell you, that was no holiday for me. There were times there was no needles. There was no drips. And I had to wonder, well, woe is unto me, Lord. Am I coming out of here? But thankfully, my Lord saw it through and I came out. So, we must understand that the economy in this country, before 2025, was already being crashed by no other than the People's National Movement. And only the PNM is to blame for that. So, Mr. President, we have to also talk about why as well we have to ask for money. Why it is certain funds are needed. Mr. President, we all heard about some figures. We heard some figures about what was happening on our golf course, Mr. President. Mr. President, we heard about some figures of legal fees, Mr. President. Mr. President, it was damning to hear of some of these legal fees that was being paid. That is why we have no money in this country. Imagine, you have fees being paid such as $38 million to a former Attorney General of this country. You have as well $29.3 million being paid to one Gilbert Peterson, senior counsel. And that is a friend of a former prime minister. You know, we got to say former now. Mr. President, if such monies were not being paid, we would have had monies to maybe put beds in a hospital. We might have had monies to make sure a man could get a needle to chuck in his hand. But you know, Mr. President, you know all these figures I saw of fees being paid. I saw two names that came up that shocked me. And I said, wow. I know these gentlemen very well. I used to be there, no? I used to be there. But one thing I will tell you, Mr. President, I am one man, that I am proud to be a member of the United National Congress. I will never, to keep a job, beg for a work. Or I will never try to say, well, I come to give my service to hope I can get some form of briefs. I'll never do that. I will never, ever do those things. For those gentlemen, all I have to say, I can't say the word, Mr. President, because they say that such word is unparliamentary. But all I will say to them is that those persons are ungrateful, because we know how they reached there and we know what they had to do. Mr. President, with money like these, the figures that were revealed, when people can't even get a food card, people can't get a hamper, people can't get normal day workings of trying to get sustenance because money was wasted, Mr. President. Mr. President, imagine they had to pay over $1 million in the Jayawanti Ramdas matter. And you know why that? She had to go to court. And she win. Because why? They're trying to hide something. Well, they had to hide. Let the lady do she job. Maybe I let her do she job. Maybe things would have not been soon. But because of that, that is why all are there, and that is why we are here. Mr. President, let's remember too, there was something called the missing file. And it cost taxpayers, and I want you to hear this figure, Mr. President, $2.3 million, for a missing file matter. And that, there were damages to be paid, and I want you to hear these figures, my colleagues. $20 million worth of damages, all because of, let me tell you why. It was because of recklessness, negligence, and gross incompetence coming out of the office of the Attorney General, sir. That is why. And that is why as well, the people voted against it with a landslide victory to the UNC. We must never let them forget that. They were busy crashing this economy, Mr. President. They were involved with dealings that can only be deemed as, and could be deemed and called corrupt. I support the Attorney General when he made a statement by saying the feeding frenzy is over. And I am saying it's time to put it there and let them know no more feeding will happen. Mr. President, could you imagine that you have to hear another figure of 20, I told you 29.3 million was a man by the name of Gilbert Peterson. But what about the pariah divers, Mr. President? They got nothing, no money to them, and they were treated with scant courtesy, even their families. I say shame upon the PNM and shame upon you all, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move to our courts and access to justice. Mr. President, as an attorney at law, I believe in our justice system and the access to justice. I must commend the Prime Minister for creating the Ministry of Justice. As any modern society, a Ministry of Justice is vital. It is to ensure that our justice system of the country flows smoothly. But you know who didn't think of that? The PNM. Because when they came into office, they closed it down and they shut it down. And that's what they're good at doing, you know, shutting down everything. They shut down Petrotrin, they shut down all kind of. They like the shutdown thing. Could you imagine, my friends? We have places in this country, such as Cedros, Point Fortin, Moruga, that does not have a magistrate court. Those persons have to go far to get justice in this country. They have to go far. But I will tell you, justice is delayed is justice denied. And that is why we are coming to fix that problem. Mr. President, we campaign on speedier justice, and just as you saw, we were able to bring promises fulfilled. We will fulfill this promise as well. We will do it. Mr. President, I want to move on as well to education. I am a person that believes in education. I come from a family that says education is key. That is why I am a practicing attorney today. God bless my mother. She made sure I became a well-educated young man. Mr. President, when we were in government before, we built close to 100 schools. Mr. President, when they came into office, so much of those schools, they did not finish them. They left them there to grow vine and bush. I don't know what it is with the PNM that they don't like to open schools. They showed the history with it, with Beach High School, and I'm going to tell you of one that one school that did too, in the constituency of St. Joseph. My good friend Kennedy Swartzing knows this school, Senator Swartzing. St. Joseph Secondary School was built by our government, and they left it to be, as I said, with vine and bush and other persons to occupy.
Relevance.
Yeah, I think he's talking about education, and I think that is part of it. Yeah, no, he's making it. Go ahead. You have my.
Thank you, Mr. President. You see, Mr. President, when we start to show them the truth of what the kind of things they did, the type of wickedness that they did. So, Mr. President, that school, St. Joseph Secondary, families came to us and said they want the school to open. Monies were spent. But you know what they did? They left it alone. But on April the 28th, you know what they said? We will get rid of the PNM in St. Joseph, and we voted in an MP and a government. A very good working MP, my name of Devish Maraj. And that school, we will make sure that it gets opened back, Mr. President. Mr. President, we must understand that we are a government of making promises come true. Mr. President, I will also talk about the fact that monies has been allocated towards the laptop programs. Mr. President, I know they don't like to hear about laptops, because they ensure that children don't get laptops. But we under Kamala Prasad ensure that all children will receive a laptop in this country. All children, all. Because people deserve, their children deserve it. I believe someone had asked, well, so a man from the West, would their child get? Everybody will get, because that child is entitled. A child must receive these things, Mr. President. And that's why there's a request for 76 million. So in case you was wondering if I was talking about the bill, they asked for that. Check the bill now, man. All right? So, Mr. President, we are at this stage because they put this country in this stage. They are the reason why we had to come and make these requests. It's nobody else, and they must take blame and they must take ownership for what they did this country in the last 10 years. They must do it. They must take ownership of it. So, Mr. President, I will say again that when the UNC wins, everybody wins. Mr. President, when the UNC wins, the children of this country will win. When the UNC wins, public servants will win. Mr. President, as I said, all will win, and they will win with the UNC and Kamala Prasad-Bissessar, Mr. President. Our Prime Minister will ensure the monies of this country is spent wisely. We didn't spend money on Casabon paintings. We didn't spend money willy-nilly. We will spend it properly because we know when we have the people's money in our hands, we must spend it properly. That's why they have us here. The country has the faith in us. The country has the trust in us. And they have the trust in Kamala Prasad-Bissessar. And that is why we will ensure this country receives great governance. Mr. President, I will close by saying to this nation, you are in good hands. Because have no fear, Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and the UNC government is here. And we will win, and you will win with us, Mr. President. And I say to my good friends, my new friends, when they see for a fact as to what the PNM is, I will tell you the United National Congress under Kamala Prasad-Bissessar is open to all of you, and you are welcome to join us. My friends, Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you.
We got government business.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President,